Hi, Mike here. You're watching Scout Restoration Yukon. In this video, I will inspect, restore, and install the engine compartment wiring harness. I will connect it to the fuel tanks and the tail lights. This is not a how-to video. It's a how I do video. I hope you like it. Let's get to work. If you want to help, please subscribe to Scout Restoration Yukon. It's free. Mike Morrow, over and out. Now I will spend a considerable amount of time working on this under the hood wiring harness. So let's get to work. This is the harness with the dreaded blue enamel paint that has been torturing me for this entire job. This plug isn't locking properly, so I have to pry up the little lock tab a little bit, put that back in there. Now it's locked. So this plugs into the voltage regulator here, but we've still got to get rid of all this blue paint and this blue tape. So I will continue untaping it. Gives me a chance also to inspect the wires. I find it's handy to have a pair of scissors while doing this. It's a little easier than using a knife. So remove this wire. It's all sticky underneath, of course. And then I can just snip it off as I go. So we're actually doing this backwards. Start here at this end. So it's just a long, meticulous, boring job. I'm just going to put that back on there for reference. Removing the tape gives me an excellent opportunity to inspect the wiring. So I've just finished cleaning up this section of the engine compartment wiring harness. So starting over here, it's the voltage regulator and the ground. This is the horn relay. These are the headlights wires, and this plug here goes down to the turn signal clearance light. So I just got it in the soft jaws, in the vise with the soft jaws, and I've got this nice warm roll of black electrical tape, and I'm stretching it as I wind it on here. So I took these connectors, they're Packard 56 connectors, also known as GM 56 connectors. I removed them from the plugs and cleaned them up down the bare metal everywhere so they will have good contact. And I've ordered some more because I have some repairs to do. So I've ordered some more of those Packard 56 connectors, male and female. As you can see, the wires are in excellent condition. They're not green. When you go in the end of a wire or open wire somewhere, it's not green with corrosion, and they're quite supple, flexible, and they're not cracked or dry. So it's pretty good wiring. Just got to get it to work. Stretch this one out like that. And of course, these wires had been painted like everything else on this cow. The guy painted it with this blue enamel paint. I scraped the paint off with a knife, the scalpel actually. There we go, there. So that's the horn relay there, which is right here. I tested the horn relay. It clicks when I put power to it, so it should work. Now, I shall continue. I think Scotch tape is the best black electrical tape. Same thing here. I removed all the connectors, cleaned them up, and the block I was painted blue. I couldn't get the blue paint off it, so I took it, went out to another Scout, and switched it with one on a different Scout so that it looks normal, not blue paint. So I'm just going to remove some more of this old tape. So the wires look nice. So I'll just continue on with my tape here, stretching it as much as I can as I put it on there. This kind of work takes a long time, but I think it's well worth doing. Now I know what I've got. So there's a connector here. I'll have to test that, make sure it's got continuity. This goes to the coil wire and probably the temperature sensor or the oil pressure sensor. So this heavy wire here is the power wire to the ammeter in the dash. One of the power wires. So we'll have to remove these two connectors and clean them up, and I'll have to clean up these wires and clean up this terminal end. This wire here, I would probably just replace this part of the harness here, but I'm just going to leave it like that for now until it's installed in the Scout. So I'm spending a considerable amount of time cleaning up this engine compartment wiring harness. For example, I'm using a carbide burr on a Dremel to clean up these terminal ends. And then the wires, which are coated with paint, I gently scrape the paint off with a razor knife, and when I do this I find the numbers under the paint, which helps me orientate the wires, and I just scrape all this darn blue enamel paint off. For example, that looks like a number 5, and if I look here, number 5, starter solenoid switch to ammeter or shunt or regulator. And that works out very well because that's exactly what we've got. So this number 5. So then, see, I was able to go with this number 5 wire, which goes to the starter solenoid. So I would assume this is the other end here, although they're both blue. Right. I know this is the starter wires here. So if I go from here to my number 5 wire with my ohm meter, I get continuity. So that's just a good check. I found the number and I'm able to prove it with the ohm meter. So I know exactly which wire does what. So I just have to do that with everything as I go along, cleaning things up. I can if I find a number on the wire, I can look it up in the book, and then I can, with the ohm meter, check where the other end of that wire is and prove it. So everything I do, I'm proving it more than one way, to be sure. So I'm just going to continue with this, cleaning up this harness. At least now I can see what color the wires are, and I'm replacing any dodgy terminal ends with new ones. So little by little, it's getting done. Attention fellow Scout enthusiasts, thanks for watching. I hope that you're getting useful insights from my videos. If I can earn 1,000 subscribers, I will be able to create Scout videos for a long time. Please like and subscribe so that we can continue this journey for years to come. I will show all the details. Over and out. So I'm starting to install the engine compartment wiring harness. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in these two big bulkhead plugs. So I need to put dielectric grease in all the holes here. So I'm going to start with these two plugs here. Note the blue wire number 5 is on the passenger side. So now I'm attaching the wiring harness to the inner fender. So it just goes like that. The 5/16 bolt. And the nut and the lock washer. Alright, I won't tighten that yet. And the next place it attaches is up here. So that one's on there. That's the wiring for the heater, and that's the cable for the heater. Installing the voltage regulator. Note that it has a condenser on it. The condenser is just to help eliminate radio interference. The regulator is mounted with 3 sheet metal screws, which I seem to be pretty adept at dropping. I'm just going to mount the horn relay using one of the bolts that mounts the regulator. Ground wire can go on the bottom there. So I'd like this ground wire to actually work. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of paint off here. So I will put the capacitor and the ground wire on this bottom bolt. Before plugging in the regulator, I will put some dielectric grease on the connections. Here, here, and here. There, that's locked in. And there's one more thing right here. Right. Just want to secure the wire to the inner fender right here. Yeah, so what happened here is the PO butchered the wiring harness and did a bunch of weird things. And it's taken me a couple of days to figure out what the heck was going on and what goes where and how it goes. So I think I've got it figured out. So now I'm going to fix this part of the wiring. So I'm just going to secure that there. So the left hand rear signal goes to the green wire. And I've decided just to use bullet connectors on these. So this will end up going like this. Let's strip that. And if I use these bullet connectors, if I screw up and get it backwards, I can just switch the wires. So there's the left hand turn signal there. And then the right hand is right here. And that goes to the white wire. Now I have to keep my bullets the same way. Like if I put them the other way around with the male one on this end and the female on this end, then I can't switch them if I'm wrong. This will be the marker lights here. And that's it for now. I'm not going to get too carried away, because when this is all connected and everything works, and I know it's okay, I can unplug these and slide some heat shrink over top of them and heat shrink them. But I don't want to do that till I know everything's good. So then this will all get nicely taped up, and it'll go along here, right, and down into the frame, into the back of the truck. And then these two wires here, left tank, right tank, they're the fuel senders. So I'm going to have to bring some wires up to them. I'm going to have to bring them around like this and down here, but they don't go the same way as the other ones. So that's good for now, till it gets tested. So the time has come to test some of this wiring. The first thing I'm going to test is the fuel senders, the two wires that will ultimately go to the fuel senders. I just want to check them in the engine compartment to make sure all the connections are correct in the dash, because I know nothing about this dash and people have been working on it, so I have to double check everything. So let's get to work. These are the two wires that I've labeled left tank and right tank. Here I have a 12-volt battery. Here I have an old fuel sender unit that the rheostat works, so I can use it to create variable resistance. So the positive wire, turn post on the old fuel sender unit, goes to the wire that I've labeled right tank, okay? So that goes to there. The negative goes to the ground on the battery. This is the ground for the dashboard. It also goes to ground on this battery. And then, in order for this to work, I have to put power to the dash. And don't forget, 5 volts. If you put 12 volts to the wrong side of this, or directly to one of these gauges, it'll blow the gauge. They'll only take 5 volts. So I've connected this wire, hot wire here, to the input side of the voltage regulator, right? So now, as soon as I connect that, we've got a 5 volts variable voltage going to all the gauges, okay? So with that in mind, there's one other element here, is the fuel tank switch, which now I will switch it to the right tank. You can see the gauge going up, all right? If I move the sender, it's going to go up all the way to a full tank. It goes like that because it's pulsing. It goes a little bit at a time. Every time it pulses to 5 volts, the needle moves a little more. All right? Now, I'll just move my float back down to empty, and there you have it. The gauge is going back to empty. So that's one wire tested. That's on the right tank. Now, I'm just going to go over here and hook up to the wire that's marked left tank. Okay, so now I have the left tank plugged into my test wire, right? And if I come back over here and I switch the tank to left tank, and I move the sender from empty to full, there it goes. The pulsing 5 volts. Now I'll go back to empty, and it goes back down. So those wires are tested. I'm quite happy with that. It means I've got everything in the right orientation. The yellow wire goes from the right-hand fuel tank over to the left-hand side of the scout, and then it joins the blue wire where they will head up to the front to get connected. So I will tape the yellow and blue wires together all the way up to the front of the truck. Tried to make a decent harness. So now I've taped a whole bunch of wire together here. Just going to cut it off, thread it through here, and I'm going to tie it to the brake line. So I'm just going to follow this brake line right up to the front of the truck. And as I go, I'll use some zip ties to tie it. And that's about all there is to it. It'll go like that all the way up to the front. So here's the blue and yellow wire. Yellow's the right-hand tank. I have to follow this for a while. I think, first of all, I have to finish off this one here. So I can remove, I've tested this, and everything works. So I can remove all these tags. So first of all, I'm going to tape this up. It's always handy to have some scissors when doing this. Instead of just ripping the tape apart, you get a nice clean cut. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to heat shrink these bullet connectors because I may want to get in there again. So I'm just individually taping them up. So another thing I noticed, this plug doesn't lock in there very well. So I'm going to attempt to tape that. If I stretch the tape really well. This is where the scissors come in handy. Seems to help quite a bit. Yeah, the plug doesn't wiggle anymore. I'm going to do the same thing on this plug over here too. Not because it's loose, but it keeps the water out. Water is the enemy. Stretch that on there nice and tight. Now I'm noticing that's hot and that's hot. These are these two heavy wires coming from the alternator and the starter. So they've got to be taped up too. It's going to keep going around here with this tape and stretching it really good. Cover up all of that. There. That's all taped up. Now this one here, yellow is right. So where are we going to be here? We're going to be something like here. I'm just going to cut the ends of them. So we're going to be something like that. Yellow and blue. So putting a butt connector on here for the yellow. Another one for the blue. Seems to be good. Now, right tank goes to yellow. I'll just individually tape that one right away. So the blue wire goes to the left tank, and here's the left tank here. Put it in the blue connector, squeeze it, pull on it. Seems pretty good. So this is going to follow this, which is going to follow this. So I'm going to have to cut this zip tie off of here. Put that on there too soon. Now I just want everything to go together and make a nice harness. So we've got a little slack, that's good to start with. I'm just going to start taping. Just have to fasten this brake line. I found a fastener that I didn't paint it. I can paint that after. I can touch it up with a brush. Okay, so now that that's tight, I can tighten these other screws along this brake line. I've been waiting for that for a long time. Just needed to know where this was going to go. Okay, that's good. Now, I just want to start, go to here, I think. No, I want to go to here, zip tie through here, like that, because what that's going to do is really going to help to hold that plug. You see, it's holding that plug nicely, like that. So why not? Well, you can see how it goes. I'll fasten that there, fasten it there. All right. So I'm going to finish fastening these after I paint this and the paint dries. So that's good enough for now. So now this paint's dry, I can finish off this wiring harness. I'll just put a little bit more tape around here. Make a nicer job of it. And I just want to zip tie this like this. Just sort of up there. On here. So you can see the cable, it's nicely installed all the way up here, around the corner to the plug. Thumbs up. In conclusion, things are looking good. I have a complete picture of the wiring in my head. Of course, there will be some problems to solve, but that's par for the course. My next video will be travel top installation. I hope you like it. Mike Morrow, over and out.